Hey everybody. Now, sorry for being away. But you guys know I've done some videos on Rise of the Moors and Jamal. And I can't remember honestly if I've said this, but I knew he would fuck up eventually. Like in a bad way. And I know a lot of the other content creators in our community have brought this to light, but this is kind of my own spin on it. So yes, Jamal and Rise of the Moors have screwed up again. This time, I'm pretty sure it's going to be for the final time. Because I cannot see him getting away with this at all. And this happened in Boston, guys. I mean, what the hell was going through his mind this time? I have no clue. I really don't. I mean, the level of stupidity that he did this time, I just don't see how he can get out of this one. I really don't. Let's get into it, shall we? So, heavily armed militia group shuts down Massachusetts highway in a bizarre standoff. Yes, you're reading this right, guys. So, apparently, Jamal and his group were on their way to a quote-unquote training up in Maine, and to avoid gas stations like that, they filled up gas cans, apparently, so they didn't have to make a lot of sudden stops. Cool. You know, I'll give him props for that one. But the way you went about doing it, totally wrong. But let's get into the article. A cadre of armed men from a militia group called Rise of the Moors shut down a highway outside of Boston Saturday morning after allegedly refusing to comply with police officers and taking off into the woods with guns. As you can see here from the pictures, guys. The group says on their website they are dedicated to educating new Moors and influencing their elders. And in YouTube videos of the incident, they claim they are only trying to travel peacefully to their private land to camp and train. What private land? Because the Moors don't own any private land. And far as I know, Jamal doesn't either. So what is their quote-unquote private land? And to train for what? What is there really to train for? They were headed from Rhode Island to Maine. According to Massachusetts State Police, trooper saw two cars on the sideway at about 2 a.m. with hazard lights on, attempting to add gas to their gas tanks. When the officers stopped to assist, they noticed a group of men wearing military gear and had a lot of guns. The trooper asked for a driver's license and gun licenses, but the men allegedly refused to provide any and refused to put down their weapons. Trooper called for backup and some men fled. In a live stream video caught on the group's YouTube page titled Peaceful, a member of the militia dressed in camo gear said they were traveling with gas tanks to refuel their cars to avoid making any unnecessary stops. He said they did not want to stop and alert or alarm the public. Well, let's see. You're dressed in camo gear. You have guns on you. It doesn't matter where you stop. You're gonna attract that kind of attention. You're traveling armed, weapons, and pretty much an armed position. What do you expect people are going to think, especially in this day of and age? We have shootings happening everywhere, riots happening everywhere. If you wanted to travel peacefully, why not just wear regular clothes to where you're going and then dress up in your quote unquote militia style gear? And even Road Pirates live last night, guys, because I watched some of it when I got home. You know, they were saying there was no reason for them to be detained. Well, one, you're on the side of the road with hazard lights on, and yes, a trooper stopped to assist you. That is part of their job, to help the public. It's happened to me quite a few times. I'll be on the side of the road, you know, changing a tire. I've had a cop come up and say, "Hey, would you like some help?" It's happened many times. It's part of their job. Their job is not to, you know. And I forgot, my dumbass forgot to put my phone on silent again. But that's part of their job. You know, they like assisting the public. Not to, you know, shoot people, arrest people. They just want to help. So if they see a vehicle on the side of the road with their hazard lights on, they're going to stop to see if they can be of some assistance. They claim they have not violated any laws and were legally allowed to own guns in the state which they traveled. Each state has their own gun laws. Maybe you should have researched this before you quote unquote traveled. And we all know what they mean, their right to travel. He said they were approached by a trooper and he asked the sergeant what the probable cause was. The sergeant allegedly said he did not know. I have that on my body camera. Well, they stopped because, well, they were trying to be assistants. Again, you know, if you're trying to fix a flat tire, and you know a lot of the newer cars have those really crappy jacks. Most cops have a really good jack, at least the ones that helped me have. So instead of, you know, using a cheap jack, which will take you probably about 40 minutes to change a tire, it could be done in like less than 10 minutes. We do not intend to be hostile. We do not intend to be aggressive. And we are not anti-police or black identity extremists. Well, I'm going to call bullshit on some of this because, yeah, you kind of are anti-police, because I distinctly remember in some of your videos calling them still policy enforcers. Being aggressive, you're wearing militia-style gear, AR-15s and handguns, in a rest position in front of you. Most people will see that, including law enforcement, being aggressive. Black identity extremists, I guess that could be questionable to whoever's point of view is watching. Our nation has a treaty with your government. Which nation is that? Because if you're talking about Morocco, sorry dude, again, this is not Morocco. Not even close. Morocco is in Africa. You're in North America. That's about a good 3,000 miles difference. We are not anti-government. We are not anti-police. I'm going to contradict that and say yes, you are, because you love arguing with the police. And are you anti-government? Most wars are because you form your own government and you don't want to follow our laws. And are willing to give them any information they need so that way we continue on our peaceful journey. And you refuse to do all that. A subsequent video, he said the police saw them on the side with their guns secured, and the group was afraid, so they got out. Why would you be afraid? He reassured them they were abiding by federal laws. I doubt that. Portraying us as anti-government, but we are not anti-government at all. Again, I'm going to call bullshit on that. Because if you were not anti-government, you would be following our laws. The man live stream reported a dozen police vehicles and spikes on the ground and armed men threatening them. Okay. Just on that little sentence right there, I'm going to take you guys back to a potential video where two men were trying to exercise their Second Amendment right, wearing similar clothing that Jamal and his followers were, walking into a police station to file a complaint. What do you think's going to happen? Seriously. Of course, they're going to take precautions because you're coming in armed. Heavily armed at that. Section of I-95 was closed in both directions. A shelter-in-place order was issued for residents. And this lasted quite a long, guys. Police said 2 arrests have been made, but all is clear has yet to be given. Police called the standoff a highly dynamic and involving situation. There's several different articles, guys, but was this anything but, in a sense, peaceful? No, because one, could intent, in a sense, be established? Yes. One, your choice of clothing, you being armed, and some to half of you leaving the vehicle and going into the woods. That can be considered by law enforcement threatening. Now, if you really wanted this to be peaceful, you would have just immediately complied and taken this all to court. No, this was an hours-long stand-up because you wanted to shoot your more bullshit, which we all know is bullshit. I mean, your own videos, which I watched on Road Pirates. This is probably going to be your guys' fault. If you guys weren't on law enforcement's radar, I guarantee you are now. I will guarantee it. Law enforcement now sees you as a potential threat, or a major threat at that. Yes, all of them were taken into custody peacefully, but still, if you wanted this to be peaceful, you just would have complied right away. Instead of this taking hours long, you would have just complied right away and said, you know what, let's just deal with this in court. But you chose not to. You chose to drag this out into a standoff where SWAT was called and they had to shut down the highway for hours, which inconveniences hundreds, if not thousands of people who were probably just trying to go to work or travel to wherever they wanted to go. And you made that difficult for them for hours. So my prediction is this incident will be their final fall, and innocents screwed this up for all other quote unquote Moors, because Jamal just innocent screwed up and shined the entire spotlight on all of you now. I'll almost guarantee they will be looking at this group and so-called Moors a hell of a lot closer now. Hope you guys liked the video, and see you guys on the next one.